Every soul is a candle. Every soul.
Recording early. Hello, Brian.
Hello. Okay, Lindy. So I'll see
I
you.
think you're back in your cityscape again.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
All right, Lindy. I think we're sort of okay, and that's okay. We've been doing this a while in every different kind of situation,
So
all the complexities and challenges, and this is
I
just.
want to get it so you're the main speaker.
I'm the main speaker, I think. Oh, you
Yes.
have to film it, so I'm the main speaker. That you have to ask her how to do that. I don't know if you go up into view.
Is it view?
I don't know.
Speaker.
Just
There you
hit,
go.
yeah, you can hit speaker. I'm going to hit gallery, but you can ask
Galleries.
Cindy how to do that, though you can text her. How do you?
All right.
So,
So,
Brian, what's new?
all right.
Lot.
Oh, a lot. Want to
Well,
mention what? Like, what? Give me one thing. Give me one thing.
I didn't want to say anything before. Remember how I didn't want to tell you about my treadmill until I was steady with it for a little bit?
Yeah.
So, along with going back with the treadmill, I've been getting back with the guitar too. I bet you didn't know
That's
that.
nice. I didn't
I'm a
know
little-
that.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Lindy.
So I've been
Okay,
putting in my
listen,
10 minutes
I
there
know.
too.
Hi. Oh,
Hi.
I'm still in. Listen, I'm still in Sunnyside. David is
He's fine. He just
Yeah.
you have to just make sure that it records the video of just the speaker.
It's recording.
yeah. He's got it on just speaker. That's good. David,
I
you have
think
it on
everything's going to
view.
be okay.
Wait, Philip,
I
David?
put Philip on view.
on view and just speaker, right?
Right.
Okay. All right.
All right, get
All
home
right.
safe,
Say hi to
Lindy.
Cynthia. Say hi.
Hi,
say
Cynthia. Hello,
bye.
everybody. Whoever's visible or invisible, it's just like the world. Most things are invisible.
All right, honey.
Hi and bye.
Okay, I'm in
Bye.
Sunnyside and I'm getting ready to leave. So everybody, good luck. And we are now in Eikev.
Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny
We are in the
side.
second day, Philip, the second week of the 7 weeks of comfort,
Of what?
right?
Comfort.
Yes.
Oh, comfort.
Yeah. Shlomo? No, Ben. Okay. All right. Well, goodbye. And
Oh, you know what Shlomo?
kinda, yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. I'm leaving
everybody.
soon.
Don't you just love the chaos? I just love it.
Philip, is Jennifer on?
Yeah, she's fun.
Hi,
I
Jen.
can't see you, Lindy.
Oh.
All right. That's a goodbye. Goodbye. As long as Jen's
Bye-bye.
on, that's good. Bye.
Bye, Lindy.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hold on. Now I got to
So,
figure out.
Brian, I didn't know you. Did you take lessons, Brian, or no?
I got to figure out how to get out of here.
No, a little bit, but not. No, I grew up next to with my cousins playing guitar, and
Right. So, do you know
they-
your chords and stuff?
yeah, I'm pretty much self-taught. And then I started with a couple of lessons, but then everything is just
No, I
YouTube.
understand. But
Yeah.
you have you know pretty much the chords. So if they say tell you which chord they're playing, you can play it.
Right.
They say G or they say matzo ball. You know which one to play, matzo ball or G.
Yeah.
Okay.
So working on my Cat Stevens and like Johnny Cash. I got a little rock block there.
You know, you're already breaking through stuff and going to doing the things you want. That's what happens when you study.
Right.
You just start moving ahead. Rocket and roll. And what's the other thing you said you're doing? The treadmill.
Right. But listen, I've been studying with it. I haven't seen it. It makes me feel better. It works. It does. I see the benefits, even though I haven't lost any weight doing it. But I do feel energized in the morning. It does help. I do see the benefits.
It takes a long time, and for each person, it's different.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember that whatever we try to change in life, you can't just add on. First, you have to break down the layers you already have and make them go away. And that's happening when we don't know it. In other words, a person wants to go from one level to another. If you have a business, and it wants to get to a next level, not just a 5% increase or 2%, though that could be huge on a big business. You have to stop doing business the way you're successful at this time and go on to something that works better, but you have to still break it down. Sometimes that happens in business, sometimes it happens in health. The guys who work out all the time, who are always vomiting from lifting up too much, their muscles are like,
Yeah.
and they're throwing up because they're breaking down. We have to do that spiritually too. Break down the. We've all spent a lot of time putting up protective things around ourselves, and we have to eventually just trust more and let more in and learn. And it's a whole process, and it happens naturally through this study,
Yeah.
especially if it's on a daily basis, even if it's one line. Hello, Stephen.
Hello. Hello, folks.
How am I doing? That's a good question. I'm doing very well. Had a very interesting interview this morning on with a guy from Siegel on JM in the AM. He's one of the top Orthodox Jewish commentators and this and that. And he interviewed me about Jewish music. It was a lot of fun. He was terrific. And it was great. We had a great time. And I'll send everybody a link. It turned out to be very, very, very good.
I like to hear the interview.
Yeah, I already sent it to you on a text.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, check your text, and Brian, I'll send it. Brian, you know what I don't have? I don't have your email or your number.
Well, my email is my
Hold on.
name, Brian Friend at Yahoo. The same way it's spelled out, BRYAN.
Well, you're making me write something down. Wait a minute.
No, you don't have to. You can look at my name. That's it.
Yeah, but I might think it said a Gmail or something.
Yahoo.
And if you want, you can text me your phone number.
Okay.
You don't have to if you think I'm going to misuse it.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, because this way we could be in touch if we need to. All right. Very good. And I still owe you I got to get them to send you a calendar. I was realizing pretty soon we're going to need a new calendar because before you know, as Lindy said, we're in the second week of the 7-week period that leads up to Rosh Hashanah. In 6 weeks, it's going to be Rosh Hashanah. It's like being. So we'll wait a couple of more minutes and then we'll just, we'll start getting in trouble.
6 weeks.
Yeah. So first we had a period called the 3 weeks, which were like based on things that happened that were negative in our history, spiritually as well as physically, because the spiritual is the inside of the physical. If there's something going on, it's very often something inside. Even when we're upset about something, we'll sometimes say, I don't know what's the matter with me, because everything seems okay, but I don't feel good. There must be something going on. And very often the best way to get out of that is just to put your attention somewhere else.
Can't hear you.
Best, what? Who said I didn't hear you? That putting your attention somewhere else, because a person cannot be in two places at once. It's a fact. So if a person is obsessing over something, the worst thing is not that you're obsessing, is that you don't seem to be able to get out of it. Do you ever get stuck on something? It's like when a person is mad and all they can think of is how angry they are. No matter what comes up, it comes up. And there's a huge lesson to be learned in that, because if anybody's ever experienced that, where they were overcome by their anger for a couple of days, if you ever experienced anything like that, that's really a lesson, a negative lesson for how it's supposed to feel when you're spiritually in tune. Being spiritually in tune means that it doesn't leave you. It's always there. And through study and practice and doing a mitzvah here and there and staying in touch and staying positive and putting your lessons into action on your own level, it becomes part of you, so it doesn't leave you when that other stuff hits. And you can turn your attention, because we're looking here for self-refinement and self-control. self-control means, God created the Yetzer Hara. He created this voice, which is meant to challenge you, to tell you you're full of it, you're worthless, everything else. It was made that way to challenge you. Why? Because Hashem wants us to take the energy of that. Because you know how much energy that has, because if you've ever been depressed, the slightest thing can make you feel horrendous, like weighted. You could feel like you weigh 1,000 pounds. But when you feel light, because your light gets in, and we can get rid of that. The same weight, the thing that counterbalances that weight is the knowledge that you're a part of something greater, and that Hashem is there in this place at all times. And a very interesting thing about this week's Parsha. Now, the word Parsha means just the chapter for this week. A little summary here. The Torah is set up into 54 chapters, or some people say they have another way of counting it. Each one has a different focus, spiritually, physically, philosophically, psychologically. So each one is aimed at a different part of your physical and spiritual body. So it's not just, each one has a different emphasis. So each week, as you notice, we're talking about a different kind of focus, like in the last couple of weeks, talking about the destruction of the temple and how what happens when things break. And now we're on the upside of that. We're in, as Lindy said, the second week of the Haftorah. The Haftorah is from the book of the prophets, usually. And it was instituted when the Romans banned the study of Torah. They said you couldn't study Torah, but they never said you couldn't study the Tanakh. So the sages went through and they found things that related to the Torah portion in the books of the prophets. Now, usually during the year, the Haftorah relates to what was in the Torah portion. But during 7 weeks of the year, the 3 before this, and last week, this week, and 5 more, it relates to the time of the year. So, but if you want to look at it holistically, the time of the year, the message of the year, the feeling of the year, all have different feels. In the same way you feel different in the winter than you feel in the summer. Someone who is sensitive to what's going on in the story of the Torah will recognize something about what's going on in their life if they read the chapter. It may not be something anybody else recognizes. So, of course, I always suggest that we should have a chumash and you should read the chapter, whether you understand it or not, because then you learn who the players are, right? So when we talk about Abraham or Isaac or somebody, you know who the guy is. I mean, it's as simple. It would be as if we're studying geometry and you don't know what an angle is. No, I just want to know about the triangle. I want to know the area. Yeah, but you don't know what an angle is, So we're not trying to approach this from any depth. We're trying to approach it from a simple reading, because it's in the simplest expression of things that can contain the deepest meaning. A good writer or a good musician can play a certain chord in the right place, or write a certain word, or say a certain sentence, or write something that touches you. And it's usually normal words set in a certain context. But to get there, it takes a lot of hard work. You notice this from the opposite. There are many people who talk and talk and talk and say very little. Part of that could be that they don't know how to express directly. Part of it could be just anxiety, Sometimes we talk because we're trying to find out what we mean. But sometimes if you can get clear about either how you feel or what state you're in or what state you're not, you can express it clearly. And the truthfulness involved in that is the most important thing. To be able to own your state. If you're in a situation where you have to act a certain way, you have to, everybody's got their problems. You still have to go to work and do your thing, you want to chat with someone around the water cooler, okay, but still you have to make as many widgets as you're hired to make, so to speak. In other words, you need to have to self-control, and you can own it and look at it later. It's funny that Hasidus says that a person, if they're feeling a certain way, or if they feel like they need to do tshuva because they've been acting the wrong way, should set aside time. In other words, don't let it permeate your day. Say, you know what? Tonight I'm going to sit down. Just between me and God, I'm going to say, I know I really screwed up. I hurt my friend today, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to apologize, cry your eyes out, ask for tshuva, and then it's over. It's basically over. You ask your friend, if you're sincere, they'll forgive you. And if your friend does not forgive you, maybe you're not being sincere, or maybe your friend is being too harsh, or whatever. At least you know where you are. This week's Parsha is called Eikev. Eikev Tishmaru, if you listen to my commandments and stuff. Next week is called Re'eh, if you see. So we're going through a period of the senses. Now, what's the difference between seeing and hearing, okay? When you see it, the experience is, no one can tell you didn't see it. You saw it. And we've discussed this, that a judge, he or she, if she sees witnesses, a judge witnesses something, they cannot be part of the case. They cannot do it. But if they hear about it, they can, because what is hearing involved? What do we say? What's the number one statement most Jews know? Shema Yisrael. Let's listen to Israel. It doesn't say see. Shema Yisrael. Listen. Listen means also to observe. Shmartem es mitzvosecha. You shall observe the mitzvahs. The thing about learning to listen is that first you have to go by what you hear, but that has to start connecting with what you know intellectually. And then when you go deeper and start analyzing and comparing, you're doing the kind of work that makes it yours. To hear something and just pass it on is just yap. And especially we have so many laws against Lashon Hara about speaking things that could be degrading to someone. So you have to know what that means. And there are many conditions. In the Constitution of the United States, that we don't have that. We only have a law about slander. But in Jewish law, you're not allowed to even say things that are true to people that'll embarrass them. It says when you embarrass someone, it draws the blood to their face. It's like murder. So what is this extraordinary thing about hearing? And I want to read you from this week's Parsha something interesting. It says, if you will heed the seemingly insignificant parts of the laws and safeguard them and carry them out, the eternal your God will keep his promise to the covenant, his kindness that he promised to your fathers. Remember, this is Moses in the 5th book talking to the people almost like it's from him. Instead, he's channeling, but it's like from him. Then he goes, he will love you, bless you, and make you numerous and bless your progeny and do all kinds of good things. You will be blessed among the nations. The Eternal will remove from you every illness and every disease. He will not place upon you those upon the nations. You shall wipe out all the nations which the Eternal your God is giving over to you. Have no pity on them. You must, even if you say, these nations are more numerous than I am, how can I possibly drive them out? Do not be afraid of them. You shall constantly remember what the Eternal did for you in Egypt. Don't be demoralized by them. God will give them over to you. So he's saying when you come into the land, it's going to be really hard. You're going to be fighting against people who are stronger than you, more numerous than you, and it's going to be a rough call. So what's interesting is they're right on the border and they're getting ready to go in, and he's not quoting the lily here. He's saying this is going to be one tough job. My question to you is, where else did we hear that in the Torah? Jennifer? Who said it originally?
Well, didn't Moses, when he first went to the Israelites, were we talking about God to Abraham?
Who said that the people in the land are too strong for us and we can't?
Oh, those were the spies.
The spies, and they got punished for saying it. And here's Moses, and we're going into the land, and he's saying it. Wild?
Well, I mean, God also said to Abraham, your children are going to have a hell of a time. You know, they're going to go through all of this. So
Yes, he did, and we did.
Kind of a foreshadowing.
That was right. That was for exile. But here, we were on the brink of the land, ready to go in, and the spies came back and said, we can't. They're stronger than us. They're stronger than God. They're stronger than the universe. And that's the reason God made us roam in the desert for another 38 years. That's why we're in the desert for 40 years. And here we're going into the land, and Moses tells them the same thing. This is based on some stuff I learned today from Y.Y. Jacobson, Rabbi Y.Y. And it seems to be, and he made some extraordinary points about honesty and facing what's in your life in an honest way. He brought up a point. He said, your child has a problem, right? And you go tell the child, oh, no, don't worry about it. There's nothing wrong. It's fine. It's going to be easy. And then, of course, the child goes out and it's completely difficult and they don't trust you anymore. Right? It would be better, he said, if you said to the child, this is going to be really difficult, but I think you could do it. Hashem is with us. When you face something, you have to understand that it is going to be a challenge. When you face life, to grow up understanding, unless you're an heiress or something, and they tell you you have no problems because you have all the money, and we see what kind of problems other people have, it's more important to know that what you're trying to do is difficult, that what you're trying to do with changing habits is difficult. It's to think that it's going to be easy is a lie that will keep you in the same place for a long time. But if you say to someone, this mission you're on is tough, it's because of the way God set up the world, it's going to be full of obstacles every day. Then you know that you have a chance to do what? To absorb the fact that it's going to be tough, and that you can dig deeper. Because if you think things are easy, I don't know if you anybody ever watch boxing. If one of the boxers thinks that's an easy knockout of the other guy, and we've seen this with championship fights, and they lose. They didn't train as well, right? I don't have to work too hard on this. I can pass that test. I took 4 of them last year. And they give you a different test. It's better to know in life that it's full with the Yetzer. It says, Ramanura, Yetzer Adam Rav Manura, the inclination of man is evil from his youth. It says that in Parshat Noach. God is telling us how we're made. When we're young, it's not evil, right? The feeling that I have to take care of myself and I want it, it's for me, right? Me, feed me, give me. At what age, though, it becomes not good? What if you continue that same thing that you always had as a child into your adult life? Then what you've done is you've abnegated your ability for self-control and the test, because the thing is for you to learn how to not to be a baby when you're 12. Act like a 12-year-old. So you're not 20 yet, but at least you're not 5. We teach each other. We have to learn how to share. We have to learn to play with other people. We have to learn that all kinds of things. We have to learn discipline. But you wouldn't tell that to a 3-year-old, though there are some parents who may try to. 3-year-olds do what 3-year-olds do, and you try to help them at that level. But it's not evil at that age. Do you know what I'm saying? It's normal for a child to want to sustain themselves. But if you bring that into your later life, and no one's ever told you that you have the option to change it, you wind up with an attitude of, oh no, that's just the way I am. That's just the way it always is. Either you take it or leave it. That's like saying, I don't want to have any self-control. I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to change. And then you're expected to have relationships with people. Somebody does something at work that annoys you and you yell at your boss. I mean, what are you talking about? We all have, and Brian had asked about this, our emotional spherot. We all have a spiritual DNA, which is made up of intellectual parts and emotional parts. And in the intellectual sphere, it's called wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, which we'll flesh out another time. But it's an intellectual thing more than an emotional thing. In the emotional sphere, the 7 candles on the menorah, I'll recite them again. It's the right side, the middle, and the left side. The right side is chesed, loving and giving. Opposite that is judgment and restricting. That's 2. Some people always want to give. Some people always want to be a little more strict. And then there's a person in the middle who wants to balance them out. That's called Tiferes. On the right side, under the giving, is ambition. Some people have endurance and they can just keep going. But what if they don't know what to stop and they're willing to step on people to get what they want? That's Netzach. But a balancing Netzach on the left side is something called Hod, which means your sense of humility and understanding that you have to put a limit on that thing to balance it. We're talking about balances here. And in the middle, right under the balance between giving and restraint, we have Tiferes, which is compassion, and under Netzach and Hod, between ambition and humility, we have something called bonding. A feeling that you can actually have a friendship with someone and you are close. You don't know what it is, but you feel something for that person. Especially it's with family, it comes sometimes easier. It's family, and with children, it's the kind of thing that doesn't break when the child is bad. You have to be bound, even if you're disciplining your child, you don't have, you still have to be bound up with your child so that the child feels that you're doing it out of love. Even in friendships, your friends have to trust you enough to give you and say, you've been annoying me for 2 weeks. I'm not calling you for a week. But it's out of love, and they'll call you next week. Maybe you've been on a jaunt or something. And under all of these is something called malchus, which means self-esteem, which is empty. It is not a thing in itself. Your sovereignty, your sense of who you are. Why is it empty? Because it receives from all of your other personality traits and forms you. So if a person wants to change their malchus, who they are, they have to change some of the balances. Maybe a person gives too much all the time and never thinks about themselves. Maybe a person is always worried about themselves. How do we find that balance? In the Torah, the code is Abraham is chesed, Isaac is restraint, and Jacob is the middle path. It takes giving and restraint and balances them depending on the situation. You can say about kindness that I give it because it's my personality. I got it from my person, and it doesn't depend on what you need. I'm going to give it anyway. Or someone who's withholds or is mighty. That's the way I'm born. I'm tough. This is the way I look at things. That's about you. The first 2 are very strong. They're about love and awe. But how do you balance them out when there's a problem? You have to not just change. You don't change what you're doing. You change your perspective. Your perspective goes from, what do I feel about who I am to what do I need to do right now in this situation with that person. This is a whole other way of looking at life. Most people will go to people who very much like them. I always hear friends say, "Oh, I get along with her great. We agree on everything." Well, your friends have to agree on something? I'm not talking about everything. I'm blessed to have friends who disagree on certain things. Some things we talk about, some things we don't. I'm blessed to have friends who are very different than I am. I don't need everybody to agree with me. But in acting, Eikev, when you hear something, is the first sign that you might be able to change something fundamental. Now, the thing about seeing something that changes you is that since you saw it once, it's ephemeral, it might wear off. And the impact comes from the event itself. It doesn't come from you. You're just standing there, right? And you see the car hit something. It's a terrible thing, but you didn't do anything. You just sat there. And it's the impact of the event that affects you. But if you hear about something and you start saying, wow, this has a lot of implications. If the government does this, then I lose that, and people here lose this. Let me look into it. Oh no, there's a catch over here, there's a thing over there. Oh, we were wasting money. And then you have to think about it. And when you think things out, you can come to something that you understand from many different angles. It's like playing music. At some point, you don't want to play the notes, you want to be the notes. You want the music to express who you are. That takes many years. It takes letting go of everything you learned. Actors, writers, sculptors, everybody studies their art. But when you're doing it, you have to let go of it and see how it wants to express itself to tell you who you are through that art or through that math or through that computer work or through your vision of the world, through what you contribute. How do we get these incredible abilities to do this kind of stuff? It seems impossible. First of all, maybe you've never been to a class that even spoke about them. Who spends talk about this? But what if this kind of thing becomes your daily concern, that possibility is greater than you, that you can reach a deeper potential? And maybe change is, the change from north to south is if a person just turns around. It's a small turn. But what if you don't know about making that turn, or where you can't make that turn because you're so focused on this way? And this is part of the reason that we need friends. Each one of us needs friends to tell us truthfully how they perceive what we're doing. And because of their love for us or our love for them, we find a pleasant way to say, whoever X, you guys are my friends. And I just want to tell you, I really see that the coughing from the smoking is, you really have to do something. I know you're having a hard job, but if it's a friend who loves you, you can take it in. Or someone's doing something in a relationship, they keep wondering why they're having problems. And you look at them and you see, oh, they're doing the same exact thing they always did. How do you know? Because you've been friends with them for 20 years, right? So they can't see it because our feeling about ourselves is, this is the way I am and things happen to me. No, we make a lot of stuff happen to us. If the equations in life are A plus B equals C, if you always do this and I always do that and the result is this, maybe I can change my part through experiment and see if I get a different result. And you don't have to know for sure, you can experiment. Say you have someone you usually get into a little tussle with, and you hear them say something that's going to make you answer, but you decide not to answer anymore. See what happens. There's just a little, some experimenting. And if it shows that you acting a way that's not normally yours gets you a better result, then you have to make a spiritual decision. See, animals can't make a spiritual decision. They have to respond to their animalness in the moment. They're hungry, they gotta eat. They can't say, I'm gonna get that gazelle and put it away until later, I'm gonna watch, because I'm gonna go dolphin. They don't do that. A human being is able to say, I know that this is bad for me and I have the power not to do it. And when we become either addicted or unable to do it, it's a spiritual problem. Because using spirituality in a very broad sense, if it's not like an animal, and if an animal can't do it, then it's a spiritual thing, right? Lions don't build cities. They still walk the same way, looking at the ground. None of them ever said, I'm going to get a little back brace and walk forward and I'm going to build a house and get Lincoln logs. They don't do that, but human beings have those abilities. And when we stifle our own abilities, for whatever reason, we have a spiritual problem. That's why it's so frustrating and this is the way we're made. I know with myself, there are things I need to do, and there are days I cannot make myself do them. So I've developed a bunch of tricks to trick myself into doing them. And sometimes I win, and sometimes I lose. But I sometimes am smart enough to get friends involved, like, come pick me up and I'll go anywhere. But if I have to get an Uber, I'm not going. Don't ask why, but I'm just giving as an example of how crazy we can all be. This person wants to hang my picture over here. I don't want him to hang it over there. Yeah, but you won't be in the exhibit. I don't care. What do you mean you don't care? You'll be out of the exhibit. You have to at least be able to weigh options. Things aren't, and we don't know in the end how doing something is actually going to wind up. Is what we want the thing that's going to get us closer to the best expression of who we are, to bring light to our corner of the world? We think it is, because we've been this way for a long time. But when you start studying the Torah, and Moses is telling the people, when you come into the land, you're going to be facing a lot of challenges. People stronger than you, people too numerous for you. You're going to feel depressed. Now, remember, the last time you did that got you in trouble. But this time, I'm telling you, if you face life knowing that those challenges are on the board, you can own the challenges and dig deeper. As we said before, as I was passing on the words of Y.Y. Jacobson, you can't tell everybody everything's going to be. If you're doing everything you can, you have to have faith. Faith is connected to action. It's not, I'm not going to do anything for myself because I believe God, You know the old story, someone's drowning and there's a flood and a rowboat comes by and says, get in. He says, no, I believe God's going to save me. The rowboat goes. A little while later, a guy in this motorboat comes in, says, come on, get in, just grab the end. He says, no, God's going to save me. And then a helicopter comes with a guy coming down a ladder. Some God's going to save me. And the guy drowns. He goes up to heaven and he says to God, I had faith in you. You didn't come to save me. He said, what do you mean? I sent the rowboat, I sent 3 boats, and I sent the helicopter. Faith and understanding go together. Sometimes we have faith that we can do something, and once we've done it a couple of times, it becomes part of our understanding. But if you're not used to behaving that way because of the way you've always been, we can take small steps. I'm going to take a step that I'm going to get up 15 minutes earlier. I'm going to make a step that I say a prayer before and after I go to bed and after I get up. I'm going to do something to break the pattern. This is not like someone who's not. There's another kind of person who's a free spirit. You can't count on them for anything, and they think it's being free. You know what I mean? They can't keep anything, as opposed to being a couch potato. But you have to be able to depend on certain things. We each have our routines. Certain people have a routine of keeping no routines. I don't know unless you're like in a James Bond movie if that works, but imagine trying to have relationships that way. I had a friend in college who was the loveliest guy. I love this guy. He said, "Okay, I'll be there at 6 or I won't." And he wasn't kidding. Either would or won't. But you just never knew. He obviously had a certain amount of mishigas. God bless him. He's a great guy. Eikev, if you observe and listen to the small commandments, Eikev means heel. The name Yaakov is related to Eikev. Why is he called Yaakov? Because he came out holding the heel of Esau. Did you know that? He was holding on Esau's heel. So they named him Heel. Yud Heel. In other words, saying it's a spiritual message that if you want to develop and change, it has to permeate your entire body from your intellect down to your heel. Your heel is the most insensitive part of your body. If you've got some hot water that you have to step in, you do not put your face in first. What do you put? Your foot, right? Because it's got all those calluses and everything. And it's related also, the heel is related to blind commitment. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to follow. I'm not going to ask any questions. It's good that you have the ability to do that. But once you've committed to something, you're obligated to find out about it. Even if you say, I'm going to find out what this Torah business is about. Well, you have to do something to be involved, to understand it, to make it yours. Make it. You create something new. You create a new part of yourself that is able to do things it doesn't always want to do. I had to get up this morning at 5:45. I hated it. But I wanted the result, and I was glad to do it because it's so different than what I normally do. I'm either going to sleep around that time or whatever, but, I had an interview, and it was really great. But the whole thing had to arrange my schedule, but was not normal for me. But I knew I could do it because I know that if I set myself to do things that are hard for me, I have to prepare a couple of days in advance. You can't just say, I'm going to change tomorrow. You have to do little things. First, if someone drives you crazy, you have to practice not getting mad every time they talk to you. It could be as easy as keeping a smile on your face. Before you answer them, before anything, you just try some little thing. Now, some of the commentators say if you listen to my commandments and they use the word heal, a lot of people think that some commandments are more important than other commandments. Well, of course, obviously, saving someone's life on some level is more important than eating that kosher thing. However, they all come from the same God, from the same place, whatever that place is. So on some level, they're all equal. They're not, you can't say this one's light and that one's, this one's important and that one's not. They give this example with the woman who's accused of being unfaithful to her husband. She thinks, he'll forgive me. It's okay. I won't do anything. I'll hang out with the guys. I want to hang out with guys. I'll hang out with guys. Wow. She's placing a value on what she thinks. Well, the Torah tells you is one thing leads to another. Your ability to control any area of your life leads to your ability to control other areas of your life. Any brick, any commitment you have, the Lubavitch Rebbe would say every brick that you make contributes to the building of your house. Like if you say at work, I'm putting up a do not disturb sign for half an hour, no one can come in my office, okay? I'm working. Well, that can translate into other times where you're able to set aside time. Of course, we need techniques and help. That's why we have each other. And you can learn from, King Solomon said, you learn a lot from the ants. You would learn if we didn't have the Torah, we'd learn a lot from how animals take care of themselves. But are we in the business of learning from everything we see? And I don't mean like in a way of like, what did I just see? Am I open to saying there's a reason for what happened to me today, for what I saw today? Wonder why that affected me when it didn't seem to have anything to do with me, but it affected me. Oh, forget it. It's either oh, forget it, which is okay, or let me talk it over with someone, or it's the same. Or if you notice that the same thing happens at the same time with the same people, you have an obligation to check that out because that was given to you to find out something new about yourself. So even though we're here to make the whole world bright, the more we sharpen ourselves, the more the ripples of how we affect the area and the people we come in contact are. So a lot of people think talking about other people is a very light thing. In Yiddishkeit, we call it Lashon Hara. There's books of laws, mostly put together by the Chafetz Chaim. It's in the Talmud, not being allowed to say things that could disparage another person, that there are laws of when you can talk about what and how you can mention it. Just because you know something, you are obligated to go tell everybody else if it doesn't affect them? It's a good question. Sometimes you don't know, right? But you might say, oh, my friend's going to hire this guy, and he's asking me if I know something about him. What do I do? Well, there's laws there. Some laws say if you know something about the guy, say he's a thief, but you also know he wears a blue tie, and the guy hates people with blue ties. You can only tell him about the blue tie. You can't tell him the whole story. It's not your business. Your business is to protect your friend. So when we have shidduchim, I've received many calls over the years from matchmakers saying, this guy wants to go out with this girl. What do you know about the guy? I think it's a lovely thing. Is he on the up and up? Is he serious? Is he, is there something we don't know? I don't go digging for stuff. And then how much should we tell each other that's going to, some people say to each other, I didn't want to tell you that because it'll disturb you, when it was something maybe that should have been shared. It's not always so easy to know. But a lot of times if people talking about other people, we just join in. In Judaism, it's one of the worst crimes. We want to be part of the crew. We don't want to say, talk about something else. Do you like your life being the subject of a discussion? Who likes that? But the Torah tells us that speech is one of the three garments of your soul: thought, speech, and action. And when you use it in a negative way, it blocks the light from your soul into expressing itself through you. So, and there are many things like this. And these are the things we'll learn, that you can learn how to weigh things. Not everything has the same weight. Each person has to be spoken to in a certain way. If I have to tell someone this is going to be difficult because it would be good for them to know it, how do I tell them? Or do I hold back this part because I know they won't start? Sometimes you can't guess things. So, but these are the real questions. I mean, we're having a conversation now that could be part of any conversation you have with anybody. Not because you're bringing it up, but because when you meet someone, you're involved in life. The Torah says, be involved in life. People will understand that, and they will talk to you. They will ask you questions. They will ask for your help. They will help you. These conversations that we have here, we can't separate them out as I'm one person doing the whole week, and then I go to my Torah visits. People want to say, oh, that person is developing themselves. That's interesting. It can come in every interaction you have. And you don't even have to say anything. People will see. You say, Brian was saying, I'm starting to play a little more with this and do a little of that. When people see, oh, you're sticking to that, that's wonderful. It's going to make me, you know what, I'm going to go stick to my thing. Now, is that a big spiritual thing? No, but look at the impact it has. Because you bring a little more light to your life and to your thinking, people will take it from you and contribute to you in a new way. And that's why we have these classes where I'm just basically speaking. And just to reiterate, most of this, 99%, is not my opinion. It's what I've learned from my teachers, Rabbi Simon Jacobson and the Rebbe and other places. And I know that it's effective because after 38 years of teaching, I've seen people's lives change. They say, "Oh, you helped me." I say, "I didn't help you. I'm a guy from the Bronx who still wants to punch someone in the nose if they step on my foot. I just don't do it anymore." You know, but you can make yourself a channel. To balance means make yourself a channel for something higher. That's not your built-in way of being, which candle you are on the candlestick. If you're on the candlestick, if you're Netzach, if you're ambition and endurance, you have to find a balance. You don't have to change your whole personality. You might say, I just have to pull back on this one little thing, and my whole balance changes. So people go to the shrink and they talk about everything in their mother and this and that, and it could be that just there's one thing that is really off, and it's good to be able to explore that. And constant study, which just means a little every day. Commitment and consistency is one of the principles we speak about here all the time. You know, I knew dancers when I was writing ballet. 7 days a week they were at the bar, BARRE. Not 6, 7. Exercising because they had to do it. Musicians practice a lot. You can't just get up and do it. If we're trying to accomplish something, we find our own little ways. We put little notes on the refrigerator. Don't forget to call your friend or whatever it is. But all this comes from Eikev, listening and not considering things that seem unimportant, what the Torah claims are mitzvot. You know, they're not picking and choosing. The Torah is not a menu. Oh, I like this, I'll do this. I don't like that, I don't do it. I think, the pork thing, that's all because of trichnosis. So I can eat pork now. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. God said don't eat it because it's spiritually off for you. You could say, I'm not ready to do something. This is what I'm ready to do. That's honesty. I believe it, but I have to get to that place. And just push myself a little more. And when we're studying, we listen to Beethoven and Mozart and, how do they do that? And blah, 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 blah. And you find out 10 years later that you know how to write a little bit of something or else. And come, all those years but not everybody, if you want to be a great painter, you have to look at Rembrandt. You're not going to be Rembrandt. Probably. But you have to look. In other words, you have to see the ideal and understand it. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the Jewish characters in the Torah are the ideals of giving, restraint, compassion, endurance, bonding, humility. And King David and Rachel are the symbols for a sense of sovereignty, of what it means to own who you are. When you understand, just get some grasp of this, it's applicable to everything in your life. So I thank everybody for coming today. This is Shabbos. Last week was Shabbos Nachamu. This is going to be, was that this week? Last week. And no, it's this week. Shabbos Nachamu, which means comfort. It's a Haftorah where it says, Nachamu, Nachamu, God doubly consoles us, but he tells the prophets to console us. And the people of Israel say, we don't want the prophets to console us. We want you to console us. We want it from the essence. So just quickly, one of the reasons that God says, I want your prophets to console you is because through Moses speaking with a little of his voice in this book and the prophets consoling us, we are given the gift of being able to console each other. We have that power. It's not just you want the consolation from a God, but we can actually, through what was given to us in the Torah, we can actually help each other. It's so important to know that. So nachamu, on the inside, on the outside, that we can, we have to know how to do it. In a shiva, we don't say to someone everything's going to be all right. You know what I mean? You have to have some sechel. But sometimes just showing up, being there, making lunch for somebody who's having a hard time, calling a friend in need, sending a little tzedakah. There's a million things you can do, but you should know that any little act, especially things that people aren't expecting, can change their whole life on that day. They could be at the lowest point of their life, and you don't know it. But if a voice inside you says, why don't you do this today? Before you forget it, maybe once in a while, try it, and you'll be very surprised. Because you're an open sponge in a way. And if there's nothing, they just say, thank you for the call. I really appreciate it. I can't tell you how many times I call people from my past and they say, oh, what is it? I love this. I had no reason. I just, remember that thing we did 30 years ago? I still remember. Oh, you made my day, especially when you get older. But we have tremendous power to console ourselves and to, and really to have, expand our potential and live our potential. And it's very positive. And the Rebbe always used to say, even in these tough times, try to spend more time spreading light than fighting the darkness. You have to fight the darkness, but try to find things in the meantime to help someone else. Rabbi Shlomo Kabach used to say, oh, you have the incredible mitzvah of helping someone today. This is unbelievable. All right, so give everybody a good Shabbos. David, are you still there to turn this thing off or no? He disappeared.
Oh,
Let me see. I have to call him and tell him that we're ready to. He's probably watching the Eagles.
I have some questions.
Okay, 1 second. David, you want to stop the recording? Okay, we're going to stop the recording and then we're going to have some questions, okay? Maybe at some point we'll keep the questions on the recording, but for now, we'll just, because I don't know what people want, whether they want that to be public, and this is going to be public.
Yes.
Okay, but I do want to answer any questions. So you want to just stop the recording?
Yeah, I am.
Everybody, a good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
soul is a candle. Every soul is a candle of God sent down